Okay, so starting with Lamai, our Unit 5 revision. Let me just summarize how the revision program works for those, if this is the very first revision class that you're coming. Let me just quickly summarize. So in your revision class, you get a file. You get a file. Most of you all would have got the Unit 5 file. Inside your file, there is one main tube. If I have the tubes with me right now. Uh, I don't have the Teams with me right now. I'll just show you the Unit 4 file. So you get a file like this. Inside your file, please make sure that everything is there. You will get a theory recap tube. This is the Unit 4 tube though. You will get a past paper tube. You will get a tube with all the past papers from Unit number 5, 2011 to 2022. I'll add the 2023 paper also from Unit number 6. And then you will get revision papers. There is a set of papers that we do every week. You should get that. Plus, there are some additional material. So for unit number 5, please check whether you have these. I think there is around 7, 8 small things inside. There is the main tute. There are 3 revision papers. Revision paper number 16, 17, 18. There is the past paper tute that you should have got. Plus, I have also given something like a national income accounting challenge. So this is the challenge for you all. We'll see who gets the highest in this. So this is a challenge for you all. After the unit is done, I have given a few difficult calculations. This paper is out of 50. The answers I will give after the challenge is over. Right now, you don't have the answers. There is 5 questions that is for you all to do. Now, these questions are hard. They're not easy. That's why it's called a challenge. It's harder than the A-level question. Calculations after the unit is done, you all can try out this calculation. So there are 5 calculations on that area. Okay. So what we will usually do now is in our revision class, guys, we will quickly recap the theory. We are not going to go through the theory in detail much like we do in the theory class. Anyway, we will quickly recap the theory and then we will move into doing a paper. That's what we will do. So we'll quickly do a theory. We'll quickly move into revision paper number 16, if I'm not mistaken. Pay for grateful recording the tunes, but I didn't receive the recording the tunes. Just drop me a text. I will look into it. Okay. Right. So we'll start now. Yes. Also, one more thing. You can't learn the theory for the very first time in a revision class. It's going to be a little fast. So this is your tute is called a theory recap tute. So if someone has never learned the theory, you can still catch up. Not that you can't, but you have to put some extra effort. So if you have never learned theory and your first time only now you're trying to learn this, then on your end, try to read the tute before and come. Try to do some extra things and come, because otherwise it's going to be too fast. Now, I am teaching this to someone who has already learned the theory. I am just recapping and going to the paper. Okay. Yes, unit 5, I added a new small unit test also. You can try that as well. Okay, we'll start. So, Lamai, unit number 5 is our first unit under macroeconomics. So, if you take unit number 2, now unit number 1 is intro, that has everything. Unit number 2, 3, and 4 were microeconomic units, where we focus on a small part. Now, unit number 5 onwards, we start the macroecon units. So, unit 5 all the way until unit number 12 are your what? Are macroeconomic units. So, unit number 5, before we get into the details of it, unit number 5 is on national income accounting. Overall story is we are trying to calculate something called GDP. Remember, that is what you call the national income. What is the national income? Or the country's income is what we call the gross domestic product. So we are trying to see how to calculate this. There are different ways of calculating. There are 3 different approaches that we will learn. Then after calculating GDP, there are more calculations to do. We will learn all of that. That is the overall thing that we're trying to do. So before we get into that GDP calculation, given that this is our first unit for macroeconomics, we will study a little bit basics of macroeconomics. We'll talk about, and then in terms of questions also, Lamai, one more thing. This question that from this year was a little hard in paper 2, question number 5. Question number 5 comes from unit 6, 5 and 6. Question was a little hard in 2023 compared to the other paper 2 questions. The question 5 was a little hard. So meaning your year it can be easy. Most likely 1 year it is hard, next year it's easy. So in your year, this question that comes from this unit, the essay question, can be an easy one. You'll see. Okay. Right. So first question is talking about what is macroeconomic objectives, variables, and problems. What are these? Yes, what are macroeconomic objectives? Now, just like you all have objectives. Now, how many of you all have the, remember I gave you all a target by the, okay, just to check, did you all finish unit number 1 last week? You all were supposed to, based on our target. No, this week you all are supposed to study unit number 2. Follow that, right? Now, I'm not going to remind you every week, karada. No, that is on your end. You need to get. All right, any unit is fine. But we start from unit number 1. Target is by March to complete studying the syllabus. By this year, by March, along with my classes also, I will finish. You will also finish. Then imagine how ahead you will be compared to everyone else. This year by March, you have done the theory class also done, revision class also done. You also have studied the syllabus once and done. So thrice you have learned the entire syllabus. So you will be way ahead in econ compared to others. Only if you do this stuff. You look up and wait, nothing will happen. Okay, right. So like you all have objectives. Now you all also have objective. This week I will finish this unit. A levels I will get 3 A's. I will get into this local university. Just like you all have objectives, the economy also has objectives. Those are what we call macroeconomic objectives. So if you take a country, if you take an economy, they also have certain objectives to achieve. So what kind of objectives does the economy have? Number 1, full employment, to make sure that the economy uses all of its resources, to make sure all the labor, all the capital, everything is properly used, to make sure there is economic stamina. That is what we didn't have last year in Sri Lanka. Now, economic stability means making sure there is price stability, making sure that the exchange rate is stable. Did we have that last year? Was Sri Lanka able to achieve price stability, exchange rate last year? No. But that is a macroeconomic objective, making sure there is economic stability, making sure there is equity. Equity means fairness in the economy. You can't have one fellow getting very rich and some people getting poor. Then making sure there is economic growth, making sure the economy develops. So these are all macroeconomic objectives of any economy. So these are small areas, guys, not very question much, but good to know. Then, in order to achieve these macroeconomic objectives, the economy has certain macroeconomic variables. There are certain variables that they try to control. What are these macroeconomic variables? 1, aggregate output. What is aggregate output? The total output of the economy. Then there is full employment. This is like a objective also. There is the price level, exchange rate, interest rate, balance of payments. All of this, don't worry, we will study in the future units. Price level, unit number 7, the unit that we are doing in our theory class now. Exchange rate, unit number 10. Interest rate, again, unit number 7. Balance of payment, unit number 10. And we will study these. That's why I'm not going through them in detail. Those are macroeconomic variables. Then sometimes these macroeconomic variables don't achieve the target. Now, last year, if you take price level, now one of our macroeconomic variables is general price level. That is the prices in the country. Last year, what happened? Prices started to increase like crazy, no? Not last year, in 2022. Increased like crazy. So that is what you call macroeconomic problems. What are macroeconomic problems? Macroeconomic problems are where macroeconomic variables do not reach the expected level. Now, even exchange rate, what happened? We were having our exchange rate $1 somewhere around 200. Shape going. But what happened? All of a sudden, $1 became 360. Came back to around 320. Highly fluctuating. So our variables have not achieved the expected target. That is what you call a macroeconomic problem. Okay? So what are the problems here? One problem that Sri Lanka had here, inflation. In the recent years, very high levels of inflation. We'll learn in unit number 7. Okay. Then unemployment, economic recession, economic depression. Those are all macroeconomic problems. So you all need to know what are macroeconomic objectives, what are macroeconomic variables, and what are macroeconomic problems. Not a question that they test deeply, but just have a basic idea. That's like a little bit of intro into macroecon. You don't have the revision paper 17. Can you drop me a text? I'll send you the PDF. Do you think you can get a printout? I am not the one who packed all the tubes into the file. Just drop me a text. I'll send you the PDF of 17. Most likely 17 we'll do it next week. Yeah. Right. Now, Lamai, this is a very important area. Yeah, is that fine shape? The first one? Okay, neither. Just quickly recap this part. Again, repeating, I am with the assumption that you have learned this before. I am just recapping. I'm not teaching this for the first time. This is a revision class. Okay, with the object, with the impression that you've learned it before, I'm quickly summarizing it so you all remember. Then coming into this. Business cycle. Very important area, guys. Highly tested in your paper. There are MCQs, there are essay questions that they test. So what is this business cycle, Laman? Business cycle, revision class, it depends on how many sessions I would take. Unit number 5, most likely in 4 sessions I can finish. So if I do classes on Tuesday also, my target is by next Tuesday to finish off unit number 5. That means 4 classes. Today, Tuesday, next Monday, Tuesday. Then, okay, coming into this, is we say macroeconomic fluctuations can be shown with the use of a business cycle. What is this business cycle now? I have not drawn the axes. You can draw the axes also, Lamai. On what do you have? Let me draw it nicely. Now, in this business cycle, what do we have? Okay. Let me draw the axes. Can someone tell me, guys, what is the vertical axis? This axis is what? What is this axis? Vertical one. That is the, how many of you all remember? This is the real GDP. Okay. What is the horizontal axis? This is time. Nice. Good to see you all remember, no? So then, what is this straight line? This straight line that is going like that. What is that called? That is our what out. That is our what out. We call that our that is our potential output. It's our potential output. What is potential output? Potential output is the output that the country can produce if they use all their resources in a maximum sustainable level. No? If they use fully employed their resources, if they use it in a sustainable level, the output that the economy can produce is called the potential output. Then what is that line that is going up and down and up and down? What is that? Up and down and up and down. What is that? That is the actual output. This one is your actual output. So see, sometimes your actual output is more than your potential output. Sometimes actual output is below your potential output. Is when the actual output and potential output don't match, it creates a what? Creates a what? It creates a gap, no? It creates an output gap. If your actual output is higher than the potential output, what do we call it? What is that output gap? This one. actual output is higher than the potential output, we call this a what output gap? We call that a positive output gap. No, when the actual output is higher than the potential, we call this a positive output gap. Can you give me another name? Apart from positive output gap, we can also call this a we can call this an inflationary output gap. Inflationary output. Then what about this? When the actual output is below potential output, this gap is called what? The yellow one. That is called a negative output gap. Another name, negative output gap. Another name, you can also call it a deflationary, or you can even call it recessionary. No problem. Negative, you can call it deflationary, or you can even call it a recessionary output. Okay. Now that is the basic labeling part. Potential output, up and down and up and down, that is the actual output. So actual output actually fluctuates. It can be higher than the potential, then we call it a positive output gap. Actual output can be below your potential, then we call it a negative output gap. Then we look at labeling our diagram now. Labeling our diagram. When the actual output is increasing, what do we call? When the actual output is increasing, we call it a monad. When now here this part, this green part here, your actual output increasing, this green shaded line, that is called a expansion. Actual output increasing is called a expansion. Now that also you can divide into two. No? What is this below part called? It's increasing, but below the actual output. From the bottommost point, it's coming up. What is that called? That is called, it's a total is expansion. From the bottommost point, put the word coming up is, what is that? That is called a recovery. Recovery. Then what if your output is expanding and going even above your potential? What is this? That is called a boom. So once again, I'll just draw it here if it's not clear. The full thing is expansion. The part below the potential output, that is a recovery. Part above the potential output, that is a boom. The entire thing is what? Entire thing is called an expansion. Hoping that is clear. When your actual output is increasing, we call it an expansion. The initial stage is a recovery. The one above the potential output is called a boom. Then what is the topmost point called? Topmost point. It goes to the boom, 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 and the topmost point. That is called yes, expansion is until the peak, trough to peak. That is called the peak. Correct. Then we'll go the other way. Yes, when the output is going down, what do we call that? That is called the full stage. If output increasing full stage is expansion, output decreasing full stage is called that is called a contraction. So output going down is called a contraction. So in a contraction also, what is the top part and the bottom part? The top part, where it has just started to fall, that we can consider as a recession. No, this part we say as a recession. That what if the actual output starts going even below your potential? What if it becomes really bad? Then that's called a depression. And then where does it end? What is the bottommost point? Bottommost point is a top. That is that. See? So it shows what, guys? What does this business cycle show us? It shows how the economy is performing. No, is it recovering? Is it in a boom? Is it in the peak now? Is it contracting? Is it a recession or a depression? And so, yes, okay, now this, you can't apply this 100% to the real world. But if you're just to put Sri Lanka, where do you think we are right now? Are we in a recession, depression, recovery, boom? Where do you think Sri Lanka is right now? Right now in 2024? Are we in a recession, depression, recovery, boom? Well, we are more likely in a recovery right now. We can't connect it 100% the real world. Real world is a little different. But you can see Sri Lanka right now is in kind of like a recovery stage. Now, remember in 2022, when we had the crisis and all, where do you think we would have been? When the Aragalaya and power cut and that stage, we were really bad crisis. That would have been a depression, no? That would have been under going down. See, so you can connect. Now that you can now exactly connect. Now see, in the real world, my business cycle might not be exactly like this. Now in the real world, it might be like this also. Now, if I'm to just show you, if you in the real world, if you're drawing a business cycle, potential output is there. Actual output sometimes might come down a lot. It might recover a little and come down a little. It might not again go up to potential loss. It might sometimes stay a long period. It can stay stagnant like that. And then it might start to go up all of a sudden. So in the real world, actual output doesn't go like that up and down, up and down. It can be very different in the real world. But these are business models. No? So it's a simplified version. We are just talking about it'll go up and go down and go up and go down. That's how. So what does this business cycle show us, Lama? It shows us the macroeconomic fluctuations, how the economy is performing. When it goes up, how it works, when it goes down, how it works. Then guys, can you all tell me now, what will the government do? You all can make a small paste it on a sticky note also. Can you all tell me now, during a boom, let's say economy is expanding and there is a boom now. Now, in a boom, what happens? What is happening to actual output? I'll say AO. Is it increasing or decreasing? Actual output is increasing. What can you tell about people's demand, aggregate demand during a boom? Are people spending or are people like keeping their money away? People are spending, right? Aggregate demand is increasing. Aggregate demand increasing. So, Lamai, if people are spending, output is increasing, what do you think happens to unemployment? Unemployment. People are spending, firms are producing more and more. So that means everyone has jobs, no? So what is happening to unemployment? Unemployment is decreasing. Now that is also good. Unemployment, now just see, Lamai. Output increasing, good. Aggregate demand increasing, good. Unemployment decreasing, also good. But what is the bad thing in a boom? What is the bad thing? In a boom, what happens? We will study in unit number 7 also. When aggregate demand increases, Lamai, what starts to happen? You all will understand in detail in unit number 7 when we do. The bad thing is under inflation. This fellow is the bad guy. Inflation also starts to rise. So can the government just wait now? Everything is good, output is good, unemployment is falling, are good. But inflation is rising. Can the government just wait without doing anything? No, government has to intervene. What will the government intervene and do, Lavan? Government intervenes. Will they have expansionary policies? We will learn this in unit number 7 and 8, don't worry. I'm just teaching it to you all now, so you all will understand better. Will the government have expansionary policy to expand the economy even more? Or will they have contractionary policies to bring the economy down now? What do you think? Economy is in a boom. Output is rapidly rising. What are they going to have? They are going to have expansionary or contractionary policies. They are going to have contractionary policies. What policies? Contractionary policies. So can you all tell me? Okay, we will learn this in detail. Don't worry what these policies are. We will learn this in detail, unit number 7 and 8. Okay. How can you run a contractionary monetary policy? What do you think they will do to interest rates? Will they increase interest rates or decrease interest rates? They want to contract the economy. They will increase interest rate. Now see, last year what happened? When inflation was rising, what did the government do? They increased rates. Don't worry about understanding this. So why does it happen? How does it happen? So why are they increasing? We will study in detail unit number 7. Okay. I'm just giving you an overview now. So they will then increase interest rates and they will try to reduce the money sum. What do you think they will do in terms of fiscal policy? This is unit number 8 we will learn. What do you think they will do here? The fiscal policy. What do you think they will do for taxes? They want to bring the economy down. So how can they contract the economy? They will increase taxes. What do you think happens to government spending? Government spending will, if they want to contract the economy, if you want to contract the economy, you will reduce government spending. So that is how it works, Lama. So during a boom, output is rising, people are spending, jobs are created, all are good. Problem is inflation. So government can't wait, they have to intervene. What will they intervene and do? That's why when in a boom also, it will not forever rise. At one point, government says, all right, now we are coming into the market. They will increase taxes, reduce spending, increase interest rate, and somehow they will contract the economy. Okay. Then Lamai, what about during a, now what is the opposite of this? What about during a, during a recession or a depression? What happens here? What is happening to the actual output? Actual output is, I'll write all the bad things in red line. Okay. Actual output is decreasing. Actual output decreases. What happens to the aggregate demand? Are people spending now? In a recession, now during COVID and all, we had a recession. Were people spending? No. Aggregate demand is also decreasing. Bad. What about unemployment now? People are not spending, firms are not producing. What happens? And now they will fire people, no? So unemployment will start to rise. Unemployment starts to increase. All of that is bad. What is the good thing? Good thing is in a recession or a depression, inflation comes down. In other words, you have deflation. Prices start to come down. Inflation comes down. That is the good thing. So can the government just wait now? Inflation is coming down, fine. But unemployment is rising. People are not spending. Firms are making losses now. Can the government just wait? No. Government has to come again now. What will the government come and do now? What policies will they implement? Now the economy is performing bad. What will they do now? They will have expansionary or contractionary policies. Now they would have expansionary policies. They will now try to do what, Lamai? They will now try to expand. Now, this is what they did during COVID. Always connect to the real world. During COVID, what did they do? During COVID, Lamai, I don't know if you all remember. What happened to interest rates? Under monetary policy, interest rates were low or high. What did they do? They reduced interest rates. They gave loans at Lamai you can take a loan at 5%. You can take, if you want housing loan, long-term loan, you can take at 5%. Now housing loan close to around 20%. So they wanted people to take money and spend. They wanted, Anna, come borrow, come go take money from the bank. We will learn this now, don't worry. Unit number 7 in detail. So what did they do? They reduced interest rates. And what did they try to do? They increased the money supply. That's what they tried to do. Then what do you think they did with the fiscal policy? Fiscal policy. If you want to expand the economy, what should you do? If you want to expand the economy, reduce taxes and reduce the tax. Then what do you do with government spending? The government spending, you increase government spending. So those are the measures the government can take. So Lamai, this area is a very common question in your paper. Either MCQs or essay questions. Very common area that they test. We'll try out a couple of questions also. Can you all take a screenshot? This you can, you can make a small sticky note kind of a thing, and you can paste and keep on the side of your tip. Can you all send a screenshot from the group as well? I'll keep it like this. My screen is a little slower than normal. Now, can someone take a screenshot and send it on the group for those who are not able to come? You all can also use colored pens and all of that and jot it down. Okay. Right. Let's go and try out a small question from this area and see. Oops. We'll go back to our tute. Okay. So that is about the business cycle itself. So in this business cycle, now I am not going to read this note here. You all can read whatever I explained is only in this note. Okay, these bullet points and everything that's in the note is everything that I have already explained. Okay. My screen, I think, is loading a little slow. We'll come to it. Yes, I think my screen is loading a little slow. Let me check my Wi-Fi. Okay, I'll have my camera off for a little time, and then we should be okay. My Wi-Fi is on this. Let me switch to SL. Hold on. My other Wi-Fi. My setting fiber is much faster. No, recession is not recovery. Recession is where the economy is coming down. After a peak, it's coming down. Recovery is from the trough, it's starting to go up. Okay. Now, right. So we try a MCQ or two, just to see whether you all are okay with this. Okay. So I put some MCQs in the tute as well. Past paper checkpoint. Okay. Can you all try question number 23 here? That is 2015. In the contractionary phase of the business cycle, what is happening? Investment is rising, output is falling. Unemployment is rising and output is falling. Unemployment is falling and price level is rising. Price level means inflation. Unemployment is falling, output is rising. Unemployment is rising and output is rising. Think. We jotted down the characteristics. What can you say? In the contractionary phase. Contraction means recession, depression. What can you all give as an answer? In the contractionary phase. Right, I've got this. Right or wrong, give me an answer. That's okay. Give me an answer for this. I've got around 35 answers. So there is around another 20 on who have not given me an answer. The more you get wrong, the more you will remember. That's all right. If you get it right or wrong, that's okay. Okay, right. I've got, I think, almost 45 answers on my chat box. There are a few people without answers. That's okay. Okay. So we'll look at this case. What happens? Can we say investment is rising? No. In a contraction phase, my demand is falling. Firms are cutting down production. Investment comes down. Wrong. So first answer is gone. Unemployment is rising. Yes, that is correct. I told you unemployment starts to rise. Output means actual output. No. So actual output is falling. Correct. That can be our answer. Api Bala will go through the others. Unemployment is falling. Correct. Price level is rising. No. Remember, I told you the good thing in a contraction phase, in a depression or recession is price levels will fall. So that is wrong. Unemployment is falling. No, unemployment is rising. So fourth one is wrong. Fifth one, unemployment is rising. Okay. Output is rising. No, output is coming down. So fifth is also wrong. So correct answer is number 2. So that's the kind of questions that you'll get from this area. We'll see if there's another one. Now, 2017. See, this is the year that I did A-levels. They gave a more easy question. See if you all can give me an answer for 2017. Question number 21. The sequence of phases of the business cycle. Give the correct order. Contraction, contraction, expansion, trough and peak. Contraction, peak, expansion, trough. Contraction, trough, peak, expansion. Contraction, trough, expansion, peak. Contraction, peak, trough. Look at the diagram and see. They ask me the order. What is the correct order? So see, after this, is it this? After that, is it that? I don't think that's a hard MCQ. It's a very easy MCQ. Which one? You all can handle most of it, means you're somewhat okay. Which one's the answer? Be very careful though. I think around 75% of you all gave me the correct answer. We'll see. First one. After a contraction, do we have expansion? No. So when we contract, first we have to hit the bottom. You have to hit the trough. Contraction peak. No. After the contraction, you don't have a peak. I mean, after a contraction, you have a trough. Wrong. Third one. Contraction trough. Okay. After a contraction, there is a trough. So there is a contraction. Bottommost is the trough. Fine. No problem. Then, I'll have my camera off now. I think it's getting lagged a little. Okay. After a contraction, there is a trough. Then they are saying there is a peak. That is wrong. No. After a trough, you will have a expansion. Then only you will have the peak. You won't have the peak all of a sudden. So therefore, number 3 is also wrong. Number 4, Balan. Number 4 says contraction trough, expansion peak. That looks correct, no? You have a contraction, then you hit the bottommost point at trough, then you expand, then you hit the topmost point of peak. That looks correct. Fifth one can be our, fourth one can be our answer. And then the fifth one says contraction peak. No, after a contraction, you won't have a peak. Wrong. That's an easy one, guys. For the ones who got it wrong, I all okay. There were several people who got that wrong. Fine. Can figure out the correct order. Up to bottom to this shape neither. Now, so that's the type of questions, and we are okay with that. Next, the other ones you all can try at home, guys. We will anyway be doing the questions in our past paper class as well. Okay. Now coming back to the tip. So question 2 is also done. Just give me 1 second. My screen is loading a little slow. I will stop sharing and share it again. Okay. Hold on. Stop sharing. Let me share it again. don't see a screen. Screen. Okay, hopefully it might be okay now. For some reason, my screen is loading a little slow. Okay, done. So now, guys, we went through question number 1 and question number 2. That part is over. So we'll quickly do question number 3, and then I'll give you all a small 5-minute break to walk around and come. After that, we'll go to the next area. So these parts are done. Going to question number 3. Okay. Question number 3, guys, is asking us what are the duties performed by the 4 economic agents or 4 economic actors. So if you take any economy, there are 4 main people. Who are the 4 main people? You have the households, the business sector, the government. Those are 3 main people. In addition to that, you have the foreign sector as well. So what are the duties of these people? What are the duties of these people? So what does the household do? Household owns factors of production. Households are the people who owns factors. So we are the people who own land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. We provide this to the businesses. Then households also do what? They purchase goods and services. We are the people who purchase goods and services. You all are the people who are paying class fees and coming to this class. You are purchasing goods and services. Then households generate savings. Remember, some of our income we don't consume, we save it. That is also there. And then households also pay taxes. Now remember how much of taxes you all have to pay, no? Are you all 18 yet? No? 18? No, it should be 18, no? So legally you all should also make a tax file, tax account, a TIN number. Anyone made? No. Legally you all are also responsible to make one. Anyway, you all might not be getting an income to pay tax, but just because you make a TIN account, that doesn't mean you have to pay taxes. Only if you're earning more than 1.2 million annually, then only you have to pay tax. But legally, you're also responsible to make a tax account. So you all can go online and you all can make it. I don't think it's going to be a big problem even if you all don't make because you all are still students. No, but legally, yes, you have to make. If they really want, they can put a fine on you also. Okay, now then the business sector. What is the business sector? Okay. Business sector, they produce goods and services. They purchase factors of production from households, and also from the profits that they make, they pay their shareholders, they pay a part as taxes, they save some as their reserves, they do different stuff. Then what does the government do? And what does Ranil and his brothers, what do they do? From the tax that they collect, they provide public goods, free education, free healthcare. They do those. Then they have national defense. They run the law and order. They supply economic overhead capital. Things like highways, ports, airports, government only producers. Then also yes, subsidies, yes. And then provide consumers with different subsidies. That's what the government does. That is their duty. Then finally, you have the foreign sector, right? What do these people do? What does the foreign sector is involved with? Foreign sector involves with importing and exporting of goods and services, and also paying and receiving factor income. Factor income and all we will learn Lamai. A bit is there unit number 5 also. There is more in unit number 10. Okay, so this area again not a very difficult area at all, but a simple thing where they give you MCQs. They'll give you MCQ and ask, okay, they will say in a MCQ, households provide factors of production to businesses. Businesses produce goods and services. They'll give like 5 options and ask, which of the following is incorrect? They can give something like that. Or which of the following, or maybe so far they have not given essay questions. But if they really want, they can give like a very easy essay question also. They can ask you, outline the duties of the household sector in an economy. Outline the duties of the household sector in an economy. So far they haven't, but if they want, they can give. So then you have to say, households provide factors of production. Households are the party who purchases goods and services. Households generate savings. They pay taxes. Right? So you can outline the duties like that. So far they haven't. So far it's like a more MCQ-ish area. Can be a essay question, but I feel it's a too basic essay question. They have to maintain a standard also, no? So they might not. Okay, done. Right. Then we come into this one, the circular flow of income. I'll give you all a small break before we get into this. So shall we quickly do circular flow now? Then that part is done. 15 minutes can stay, no? I'll give you all a break after that. So quickly we'll finish circular flow and then we'll take a break. Then that section is over. Otherwise, then I can go to the next section on output approach. So circular flow of income, now I will go through this in my board over here. Board in the sense my screen over here. You all know most of this, but I will quickly summarize again. Okay. Right. We are going to talk about something called what? Something called the circular flow of income. Something called the, let me, circular. Hold on. We'll go through the circular flow of income. Now, I want all of y'all, now y'all can take a screenshot later and jot down. It's there in the tute also. I want all of y'all to actively participate and engage with me. We'll learn this together. If you take a circular flow of income, can you all first tell me who are the first two main parties that is there? Who are the first two parties who are there in economy? You can draw this in different ways. Huh? There are who? Households and businesses. Right. So there is households, all right. There are households and there are business firms. These are the first two parties that we have. Still, in an economy that only has households and business firms, what do we call this economy? This is called a what economy? An economy that has only households and business firms. That is called a simple economy. Another name, we also can call this a two-sector economy. A simple economy or a two-sector, not a closed and closed economy is when the government comes. Okay, this is simple. So how does it work in a simple economy, Laman? Households provide what to the businesses? What do households provide to the businesses? They provide the factors of production. No, what is that? Households provide land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. In return for this, what do the business firms give them? In return for providing this land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, business firms give them, they pay them another factor income, you know. So this number you all can draw in different ways. There is no rule. You can draw it like this. You can draw it from down. No problem at all. So I will just put it on from down. So in return for this, what do they get? They get factor income. What is your factor income? For land, you get rent. For labor, you get wages. For capital, you get interest. And for entrepreneurship, you get a profit. That is your return. Then what do households do with this factor income? What do they do? They use this money for what? They use this money to purchase goods and services, no? And now the money that they are getting again is going on to this side. As what? As expenditure. Expenditure on goods and services. So in return for spending on goods and services, what do businesses do now? These people have given them the money. You pay me the class fees. Now, what do I give you? I give you the service. No, I provide you the service. At the start of the month, you make the payment. For the rest of the month, I give you the service. So how business firm will do what? They will provide, the business firm will do what? They will, my diagram is a little bad, no? Business firms will provide goods and services. That is the most simplest form. This is the most simplest form. But then, guys, can you tell me now households get rent, wages, interest, profit? Do they spend all of it as goods and services, on goods and services? No. Where does some of the money go? Some of the money goes out of the circular flow of income. That is our first leakage, our first withdrawal. Some of the money goes out of the circular flow of income as what? It goes out as savings. Where do these savings go? It goes to what? Savings goes into the financial institution. Where do people save money? In the banks, no? To the financial institutions. What do banks do with this money? Do they just keep in their safe and keep? No. They provide loans. Loans for what purpose? They provide loans for investment purposes, no? So firms will take loans, they will start businesses, they will expand, they will buy property. Whatever money that went out as savings now comes back into the economy as what? It comes back into the economy in the form of what? In the form of investments. And the money coming in. Invest. So that is the simple two-sector economy circular flow model. So in your paper, if they ask, draw the circular flow of income for a simple economy, or draw the circular flow of income for a two-sector model, and you have to draw this. When we are going from a simple economy to a closed economy, or a three-sector model, who gets added? When we are going from a simple economy to a closed economy, who is the Haradare gets added? Who is the fellow? Who gets added? And who gets added? Ranil gets added. Who is Ranil? Don't write Ranil. Who gets added? The government. Now the third fellow. We'll put, you can draw it anywhere, yeah? No problem. I will draw him in the middle. Okay. I'll put the fellow here. And the trouble came. Now Ranil has come in the middle. We'll put a small box to him also. Now, what does Ranil do after coming into the middle? He will tell the people to pay what? He will tell the households and the businesses to pay. And he says, pay tax. So households also, we also will complain, and we will pay tax. Not only us, businesses also have to pay tax. They will also complain, and they also will pay tax. So again, another withdrawal. But does Ranil keep all the money for himself? What does Ranil do with this money? Good fellow, what does he do? He will spend that money, no? He will give free education, free healthcare, and for this one, for that one, there is what? Government spending. We call that government purchase. I'll say GP, government purchase. Since I don't have space, I'll say government purchase. So they will spend. They will provide pensions. They will spend on education, free healthcare, and so much of things. So that is the circular flow of income for a closed economy. In other words, for a three-sector economy. Now, Now, open economy or a four-sector economy, who gets added? If you are going to a open economy or a four-sector economy, how that way? Who gets added? Who is the new fellow? And now, foreign sector gets added. We'll put them over here. Who gets added? The foreign sector. Now, if you take the foreign sector, we'll put a box to this fellow also. He is also the sexton. Put the box. So what do we do with these foreign fellows? What do we do with them? We import and export. So when does money go out of the circular flow? When does money go out? When the circular flow of income or money. Okay, when does money go out? When we import. When does money come into the circular flow of income? GP is government purchase price. Money comes in when we export. When we export, money comes in. So that is the circular flow of goods. That is the circular flow of income model for a what? For a open economy. Or in other words, for a four-sector economy. That is the story. So then, tell me, Lamai, what are our withdrawals? Withdrawals or leakages? What are these? We have learned this in unit number 6 also. What are the withdrawals or leakages? First, you have, in a simple economy, you have only savings. Then when it becomes a closed economy, there is savings and closed economy, savings and tax. Then in an open economy, savings, taxes, and where does money go out? Savings, taxes, and imports. Money goes out. Then on the other side, what do we have? For every withdrawal, there is a matching injection. When savings goes out, what comes in? Savings goes out, what comes in? Investment comes in. When taxes go out, what comes in? Government purchases comes in. Government purchases comes in. When imports go out, what comes in? Export money comes in. So those are your injections. Fine, a very basic thing, which we have already spoken. Okay, then one more thing. Now, if you all can see, I have highlighted this in two different colors. The arrows, the land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, the good and service. Now there are 4 arrows now, going like this, going like this. What are the arrows in yellow? Those are called what flows? The arrows in yellow, the land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, and the goods and services moving. Those arrows are called what flows? Those are called what flows? How many of you all remember? Those are called real flows. The arrows in yellow are called real flows. What are the real flows? This one. Look at the board. This one here. This one and this one. The land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, and the goods and service flow. Those are called real flows. I will erase that since it makes my diagram ugly. Then what are the pink arrows, guys? The pink arrow. What are those called? Those are called monetary flows, or we can call it financial flows. Monetary, or we can call it financial. Okay. Now, just have that in mind. Then with that, that topic is also done. So this is the circular flow of income. So let me, where is GNS? Goods and services. So I'll just put it over here. Can you all get a screenshot and share it on the group. If you want, you can make a small sticky note and you can write this again. It's there in the tutor also, Lamai. But for your learning purposes, to make your tutor nice also, sticky note, I don't think you will have space. Maybe half of a A4 sheet, take a A4 sheet, half of it, nicely write it, use color pens, use everything, paste it on that page and keep. So that you all will also want to learn it again. Right. So perfectly, 15 minutes is what I took for that area. Done. So then, using this circular flow model, Lamai, this is the base for us to study or learn something called the GDP calculation. Okay. Now, if I am to simply show you, now you all already know there are three ways to calculate GDP. There is, what are the three approaches? There is the output approach. There is the income approach, and there is the expenditure approach. Three different ways to calculate GDP. We have learned it in our theory class. So if I remember, all three approaches gives the same number. Shall I prove that to you with the business cycle? So take the household sector and the businesses. Okay. So firstly, what happens? Firstly, households provide land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. In return for this land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, business firms pays them factor income. Pays them what? Rent, wages, interest, profit. Let's say the households got 1,000 rupees as rent, wages, interest, profit. That is their income. What do they do with this 1,000? They got 1,000 as income. So what is this? This is their income. Okay. What do they do with this 1,000? They spend on goods and services. No, they have expenditure on goods and services. So that is 1,000. What is that 1,000? That is expenditure. We forget about savings. Then in return, what does the business firms do? Business firms will give them goods and services worth 1,000. That is their output. So here's 11. The income 1,000, that's the income approach. The expenditure 1,000, that is the expenditure approach. The output 1,000, that is the output approach. So we are trying to calculate GDP in three ways, but all three has to give us the same answer. Can't give us different. One way of calculating GDP is we calculate all the incomes and take. Another way is we calculate all the expenditure and take. Another way is we calculate all the output of the country and take. Whatever way we take, we have to still get the same answer. We can't get different answers for GDP. So that is the next part of this unit. So far, what did we do, Lamai? Now, when you all are studying this unit also, break it into 4 parts. First one is introduction to macro. That is what we just finished now. That has the basic macroeconomic variables and stuff. Then business cycle, and then circular flow. That is the first part of the unit. So when you all are studying, always remember I have told you all break units into small parts. No. So first part is intro to macro. What does this intro to macro have? Mainly it had that basic parts. It had the business cycle, and it had now circular flow. That is that. This is the first part of unit number 5, which we just quickly summarize. Then the rest of the unit is this. Second part is output approach. Output approach is long. Third part of this unit, income approach. Fourth part of this unit, expenditure. So when you all are studying, if you break it down into parts like this, you see how easy it is. Now today, we finish this. Now I will start output approach also. Tomorrow, now we will finish out. We'll try our level best to finish. tomorrow we'll go through the rest of the part, and also now how my revision papers are made. Revision paper number 16, RP 16 is from topic 1 and 2. Income approach. No, let me see. No, I can't. No, I think topic 1 was the first one. Let me go back to the papers. Can someone check the topics? Revision paper 16. No, revision paper 16 is only topic 1. My screen went. No. Oops. Second. Yeah. Then we can move to revision paper 16. So look at this revision paper 16. Revision paper 16 over here. That's the paper that we will do. That's the main part of the revision class. Business cycle, circular flow of income. There is a bit of the output approach. Under output approach, we'll talk about double counting. And there are two small theory areas at the end of this unit. I put that also in this paper. So that is revision paper 16. Then when you move to revision paper 17, what does revision paper 17 have? 17 has the production boundary more into output approach. Price calculations, it has the non-observed economy, it has output approach calculations. Then revision paper 18. So likewise, it's broken level. 18 is income and expenditure approach. So these are the topics I have broken and put into small papers. The answer writing part is what I will want you all to focus on more. So, right, where were we? Now, when you all are studying, not just econ, any unit, lamai, always break into parts. So, your revision paper number 18 is from this. Revision paper number 16, I'll say RP, 16 and 17 is from the first two topics. So your revision papers are also made that way. That's why, in front of the revision paper, first page, there is to make a short note. So I'll make a short note and nicely keep that. Okay. So then, right. Shall we take a small break? After the break, we will go through this double counting error part. We will do this part until page 7. And at the very end of the tutoring, there is a part on users and this one. This one. The why do we calculate national income accounting and the limitations of it. And we will do that. So once we do this part, we can do revision paper number 16. So we'll take a small break for 7 minutes. It's 5:33 now. We will go through this output approach and this part. And once that is done, we can go to revision paper 16. Yes, the papers and the tudes will be sent together. If you are a part of the revision class, the revision paper and the revision tudes will be sent. So shall we take a break until 5:40? Okay, you have, we'll go until 6:30, okay? Break till 5:40. The people who are taking a break forever, bye. I'll see you tomorrow. Others, please stay and learn this and go. Take a 7-minute break and answers I will give on the website. Take a break and go. Right. So starting now, Lamai, with the next area that is on the output approach. So the rest of this unit is mainly broken into 3 more sections. We'll talk about the output approach. Output approach only we go a little bit more in detail. We'll talk about things like the double counting error. We'll talk about something called the production boundary. Production boundary is not only for output approach, but we will study it under that topic. And then we'll talk about certain other stuff as well. So we'll start with this area on the output approach. So first of all, what is GDP? A highly tested MCQ in your paper. What does GDP mean or how does it work? Yes, we say GDP is the value of all the final goods and services. GDP is the value of all the final goods and services produced during a year. If we say within a particular period, usually a year, within geographical boundaries. That means all the final goods and services produced inside Sri Lanka, produced within Sri Lanka's geographical boundary, can be included in Sri Lanka's GDP. So geographical boundary is not just the land area, Lamai. There is something called, I'll just quickly go through. There is something called economic territory. So whatever that is inside Sri Lanka's economic territory, whatever production that happens inside Sri Lanka's economic territory will be inside Sri Lanka's GDP. So what and what do you have inside Sri Lanka's economic territory? You have, Lamai, number one, you have Sri Lanka's land area. Okay. Then you have our airspace. Then you have Sri Lanka's water area. So we can say, let's say, let's say water space. You don't call it water space, you call, let's say, the water territory. Now, if you take, Lamai, in Sri Lanka, every country outside their land area, there is a certain amount of kilometers of water space that the country owns. Now, if you take Sri Lanka, now just think of imagine the world map in Sri Lanka, right down, if you look at, there is almost nothing. If you look at from south of the world map, it again goes a globe. No, that doesn't mean everything is Sri Lanka's water. So every country has a certain area. So let's say 10 kilometers, I don't know the exact number. Let's say 10 kilometers. So 10 kilometers from the land area, that water space is Sri Lanka's. So whatever happens in that water space, let's say we catch fish from there, let's say we make like a floating hotel in that water space. So whatever that happens also can be a part of Sri Lanka's GDP. And also, Namai, there are these things like these embassies and stuff. So let's say Sri Lanka has an embassy in India. That also will belong to Sri Lanka's economic territory. So there are, those are what we call, I'll just note it as, let's say, embassies for you all to have in mind. That's not the professional word, but just have that in mind. Very unlikely they'll ask you about economic territory, but in case they ask, have that in mind. So whatever that is produced inside Sri Lanka's economic territory, all the final goods and services produced inside this area will be a part of Sri Lanka's GDP. So now, I'll quickly run you through something called the double counting error. How does it work and what can happen? Now, we'll take a very simple story. We'll take a simple story of the production of, let's say, producing biscuits. Okay, producing biscuits. Let's say there is a, so how is biscuits produced? Using wheat flour, no? Okay, so let's say, okay, no, not biscuits. We'll take another one. Okay, we'll take clothes. We'll take the production of cloth. Cloth production, we'll take an example. I'm trying to explain to you something called the double counting error here. Let's say now, how does this whole cloth and all work? How does the wool and stuff, cotton and all? There are trees. Okay, so there is a guy producing cotton. There is a cotton producer. There is a guy who is growing cotton plants, cotton trees, however they make it, and he produces cotton. He starts from scratch, and let's say he produces an output worth 10,000 rupees. So this person produces cotton worth 10,000 rupees. So he sells this cotton to a guy producing cloth. So let's say a fabric manufacturer. There is a fabric manufacturer. These clothes. There is a fabric manufacturer. What does he do? This fabric manufacturer, he uses this 10,000 as inputs. He buys the cotton from this guy. And what does he do? He, let's say, produces an output worth. He converts the cotton into cloth now, sheets of cloth. He produces the output worth 25,000. Then what does he do? He sells his cloth. He sells his cloth to whom? He sells his cloth to, let's say, a garment. Say a garment factory. So garment factory, what do? They produce t-shirts or denims or whatever, they produce that. So what does the garment factory do? They take this cloth, the fabric, that is their input. So they have input of 25,000. And with that, let's say they produce t-shirts. They produce t-shirts worth of 40,000. Then let's say now, factory doesn't sell garments. Factory will give all of these garments to whom? They will give this to a retail outlet. Let's say someone like No Limit. They will give it to the retailer. So retailer will use this 40,000 of inputs. He will display it in his shop. He will advertise. He will provide AC, parking facilities. He will do all of that, and he will sell all the things to, let's say, for a 50,000. So let's say this is the story now. This is how clothes are being produced and sold in the market. Now, government wants to calculate the GDP. Let's say this is the only thing that happened in the country. Nothing else happened in the country. Government wants to calculate the GDP. What is GDP? The value of output, no, how much the country produced. So government goes to the cotton producer and asks, cotton producer, how much of output did you produce? Cotton producer says, sir, look here, I produced the output of 10,000. Okay, right. Then the government goes and asks the fabric producer, the person who produces cloth. Government goes and asks that fellow, how much did you produce? Fabric fellow says, look here, sir, I produced the output of 25,000. Then government goes and asks the garment factory. The factory says, Mahatya, we produced the output of 40,000. Then government finally asks the retailer, someone like No Limit, they say, sir, we sold 50,000 worth of output. Right? Government has got all the information. Can you tell me, if you add this and this and this and this, and the number that you get, 90, 100, 125,000, can we consider this as the GDP? Can we consider this as the GDP? Cotton manufacturer says, I produce 10,000. Fabric fellow says 25,000. Garment 40,000. Retailer says 50,000. No one has lied. Everyone has told the truth. What's the problem here? What's the issue? The issue is, what's the issue? This has got double counted, no? Whatever this 10,000 is already inside this 25,000. This 25,000 is already inside this 40,000. This 40,000 is already inside this 50,000. So if you consider that 125,000 as your GDP, you make a mistake. What is that mistake called? That is called the double counting error. Double, or we can say multiple counting. Multiple counting. What is this double counting or multiple counting error? If you include the same thing more than once, then it becomes double counting. So that's the multiple counting error. That's a very common thing in the output approach. So how do we avoid this now? How can you correct this? How can you correct this double counting error? Now you need to do a correction. How do you correct this? Correcting the double counting error. How can you do this? Tell me. How can you correct this error? There are two ways, no? two ways to correct this. What is the first way? First way of correcting this? First way of correcting this is forget everything else. Do what? Forget everything else. Only consider the final product. That is what you call the final product approach. What is the final product approach? Forget everything else, forget the intermediate stages, forget those. To GDP, only take this final 50,000. Only take this. Don't take anything else. Leave everything because inside that 50,000 output, everyone else's contribution is there. Cotton producers is there, fabric guys is there, the garment manufacturers one is there, it's all there. So therefore, ignore all of that and just take this final 50,000. Right. That is method number one. Ignore all of the others and simply take this 50,000. Yes. But is this method, is there a problem in this method? What is the problem in this method? What's the problem in this method? The problem in this method is sometimes you can't identify whether a good is a final good or not. Now, if you take something like t-shirts, right, t-shirts are a final. But let's say, okay, let's say, for example, remember I told you Mari biscuit. Is Mari biscuit a final good? Is Mari biscuit a final good? If you buy Mari biscuit from Cargill's and eat it, now what's a final good, Lavai? Final good is a good used by the end consumer. Now you go to Cargill's, buy a Mari biscuit packet, you eat, final good, correct. But what if this Mari biscuit is used by a bakery to make biscuit pudding? Then Mari biscuit also is an intermediate. Biscuit pudding only might be the final good. Got it? So it's very difficult for some goods to figure whether it is an initial this thing, even sugar, no? Now you buy sugar and you put it in your tea and drink, final good, no problem. But let's say sugar is bought by a restaurant. They use that sugar to, let's say, make something, let's say a cake or something. Then that becomes intermediate inputs. So whatever good, even chocolate, you buy and eat chocolate, no problem. But let's say you use chocolate to make like a what dessert, becomes intermediate. So therefore, because of that reason, the certain goods, you can't identify whether it's a final good, the intermediate good. No way you can find out. So therefore, even this final product approach is not that good. To avoid the double counting error, one way is to consider the final product approach. They call it the final good. But that also is not perfect because you can't figure out, no? Some goods can be final, some goods might not be final. So then which one is the more better answer, Amai? If not for this, what should we do? We have to use the value added approach. What approach? The value added approach. How do we do this? What do we do in the value added approach? We calculate the value addition at each stage. We calculate the value addition at each stage. How do we do that? Minna balan. Now, how much is our cotton producer's value addition? He starts from nothing. He produces the output of 10,000. How do you find value addition, Lamai? Gross value added is equal to your output minus your intermediate consumption. So the cotton producer, he's starting from nothing. No? So he doesn't have intermediate consumption. He's just growing from some seeds. He's growing. So how much is output? 10,000. So 10,000 minus 0. 10,000 minus 0. His value addition is 10,000. How much is the fabric guy's value addition? He produces an output of 25,000. But to produce that output of 25,000, he has bought inputs of 10,000. So how much is his value addition? I will erase this part over here. How much is this guy's value addition? Oops. How much is this guy's value addition? This guy's value addition is 25,000 minus 15,000. Sorry, minus 10,000. How much is his one? Ah, 15,000. Then how much is the garment factory's value addition? They have bought inputs of 25,000, produced the output of 40,000. How much of new value have they added? They have added 40,000 minus the inputs of 25,000. They have added value of 15,000. How much is the retailer's value? A retailer also, Lamai, he's displaying the goods, he's providing parking facilities, he's advertising online websites. He's also adding value, no? How much is his value addition? He is selling the output for 50,000. His intermediate inputs are 40,000. So he is providing a value addition of 10,000. Now see, in the value addition approach, let's say these t-shirts are used for something else. Another stage gets added. Still no problem, no? Even if the t-shirt is not a final good. Let's say you use this t-shirt for some decoration. Let's say they bought some t-shirts for, I don't know, some decoration of something. So even if another stage gets added, no problem, you get the value addition from it. That is why it's better than the final product approach. Now, in the final product approach, if you take the final product, then if another stage gets added, no problem. Value addition approach, no problem. If there's a new another stage, okay, take the value added of that also. Problem solved. So then how much do we get when we add all these value additions? When we add all these value additions, this fellow 10,000, this person 15,000, this person another 15, final person 10. You add all of it, you can't get a different answer. How much do you get? You get here. You still get a 50,000. So whether it is the value added approach or whether it's the final product, it has to give you the same number. But this one is better than the final product approach because final product approach, some goods, you can't identify whether it is a final product or not, no? So better to go with the value addition approach. Very common MCQ question in your paper. They give you a story. We will do it in our past paper class also, don't worry. They will give you a story and they will ask you to calculate the value add. Yes, I will come to that income source, output source. Okay. So this is the real world example. Cotton manufacturing tools. If you count every stage in the manufacturing process, you end up double counting. Okay. Right, you can get a screenshot. You can share it on the group also. Oh, let me circle this. Sorry. So can you all get a screenshot of this? And can someone share it on the group? These are just like, side notes that you all can jot down for you all to remember this better. Okay. Now, we'll then get into our coming into the tips. So this part is what I went through with you all. I'm not going to read word by word. You all please read. Okay. What is the double counting error and how it can be avoided? Okay. So, right. Now we'll come to a small calculation. Now this gross value addition also. Now remember I told you second method of avoiding double counting is to get the value added approach. Value added approach also, there are two ways. Value added approach also, there are two ways that I didn't show that in my screen there. Okay. So I only showed you one. Okay. In the value added approach also, there is something called the product source. Only product source I showed you and something called the income source. So I'll teach that to you with this question. You see, I have given question number 6. I am saying, using the information given below, calculate gross value added using the product and income source. So we are value added approach. That also there are two ways. I'm going to show you that. Okay. So they have given gross value of output, raw materials, cost of electricity and other services, rent, wages, interest, profit, non-factor payment, depreciation. How do you do this? What's careful? This is how you do. In the product source, you take gross value of output, you minus intermediate consumption. What is intermediate consumption? Your raw materials, electricity, anything like that is intermediate consumption. Then you get gross value. Then in the income source, what do you do? In the income source, you add all the factor incomes. That is rent, wages, interest, profit, and you also have to add depreciation, consumption of fixed capital. You add depreciation, you then get gross value. You have to get the same answer for both. Can you all try out and see whether you all get the same answer? I'll give you all 2 minutes. See if you can do that and get the same answer. If you are getting different answers, then you've made a mistake. I've given you the format, you just have to plug the numbers. And let me know how much do you all get as an answer. How much do we get? Don't have the dude, at least do it on a piece of paper. No problem. Most of y'all should have the dude. So gross value of output, 19,000. Intermediate consumption, raw materials is intermediate consumption, electricity and stuff also intermediate consumption. So I have raw materials. How much is that? 3,000. I have electricity and those stuff. How much is that? 2,000. So my total intermediate consumption is 5,000. From that, if I minus, I get 14,000. That's gross value added. Other method, rent, 4,000. Wages, they are saying 2,000. Interest, they are saying is 3,000. Profits, 3,500. And then non-factor depreciation, 2,500. Do you get 14,000? Is it 15,000? Then we'll make a correction. Yeah, next. So shall we, I think I would have made the question wrong. Can you make this 1,005? Okay. Make that depreciation 1,005. Sorry, my bad. 1,500. Then you should get 14. Now, so both methods, ideally, you have to get the same answer. You can't get different answers. That's the product source and the income. So what are those? 2 ways of calculating gross value added. So gross value added, if I go back to my this one over here, now value added approach. So value added approach, there are 2 methods in this. One is the product source. That is what I showed you here. Product source, what is that? GVO minus IC. Then second is the income source. How do you do this? This is rent, wages, interest, profit plus depreciation. The income source. Both methods have to give you the same answer. You can't get different answers. So if you want, you can get the extended version screenshot as well. I'll have my camera off, so my face is not there. If you want, can someone get the extended version of this last part I added new? Okay. Done. Yes, one more reminder for those who paid the fees during the weekend. Guys, once you all pay the fees, please don't forget to fill the registration form, because from that only we get the address to courier the clothes. We saw the recordings and all. From that, I'm just informing the new students because some of you all forget. Once you all pay the fee, there is a registration form to fill. I have sent that on the group. Make sure you fill it. Only then your tudes will come. So I will send maybe a list of students that I have sent the tudes already. Just check if your name is there. So sometimes you would have paid the fees, you would have sent the slip, you have forgot to fill the form. So then you are also silent, we are all silent. Then 2 weeks later, you will be like, I didn't get the tude. Most likely, you have not filled the form. I'll send a list of names with everyone who has filled the form and whom I sent the tudes for the students who paid for December also, because I didn't want any delays to happen. I didn't wait until you paid for January. I will again be couriering another set of tudes on the 3rd week of Jan. That is the unit 6 and 7 revision and the unit 8 theory. 6 and 7 revision and unit 8 theory somewhere around 3rd week or 4th week of Jan. I will be couriering that. So that only for the people who have registered for Jan. Okay, back to the tude. Make sure you fill the form. Okay. So then guys, with that, and there's one more part, our first paper stuff is done. We'll go to the bottom. Is I all okay with the shape then? Until page 7? Are the areas fine? Safely? Okay. The next part is for the next class, but we will go to the last page, Laman. In your tude, last page in the sense, go to page number 25. Okay, go to page number 25. We'll not do the paper today. If you're not done the paper, you can do it and come for tomorrow. Tomorrow we will discuss the paper. So go to page number 25. You will see question number 20 and 21. A small, very easy theory area. I put that under this revision paper itself, so you all can track. So first one is, why is it important to calculate national income account? Why are we calculating GDP? We are taking out. Remember, am I calculating GDP for a country is not easy, no? Think how much of things happen in the country. Now, even the class that we are doing right now should be there in the GDP. It's a productive service. You all are paying class fee. I'm doing a class for you. Should be there. GDP. Even let's say, Lamai, we will learn production boundary. Even if you grow vegetables in your garden, should be there in GDP. So calculating GDP is not at all an easy task. It's a really difficult task. There are so many people who have their job is to calculate GDP in the Department of Census and that. Imagine your job is to calculate GDP. So it's not easy. So then why are we doing it? What is the usefulness of that? So here see, one, only if we have GDP, we can measure economic growth. We will learn economic growth week number 11. How compared to last year, if the GDP has increased, we say, economy has grown. GDP has come down, we say, no, negative economic growth. That's what happened last year in Sri Lanka. We can estimate per capita GDP. What is per capita GDP? We will learn. That is, you take the GDP divided by the population. Roughly how much is Sri Lanka's per capita GDP, Laman? In 2022, in US dollars, per capita GDP? Roughly, anyone knows? GDP is, yes, around 77 billion. I'm talking about per capita GDP, one person's contribution. So 77 billion divided by around 22 million. Population 22 million. So roughly around 3,000, I can't remember the exact number. It's roughly around 3,400 something. I can't remember the 3472. Roughly around, I don't know where there is 3474. I guess roughly around here. I can't remember the exact number. I'll also confirm. And also, guys, when we will learn numbers and all going forward, always learn numbers from official sources. Now, for example, if you in Google, if you search GDP of Sri Lanka, central bank website, those are the official ones. Those only you all can write in your paper. Sometimes some random fellow will give numbers. You can't write those. Be very careful now. Sometimes I know you all randomly search now on Google. You search GDP of Sri Lanka. It gives a random number. So unless it's an official source, Sri Lankan official source, you can't write in your paper. So we will talk about those since we are not in grade 13 units only. Those numbers are there. Will come. Okay. Again, mathematics class. So 3472. So maybe. Okay. We can calculate that. Then you can look at the structural changes. You can see, okay, how much did the agriculture sector contribute? How much did the industry sector contribute? How much did the service sector contribute? You can look at those structural changes. You can look at that. 88 billion, no, that's not per capita. That should be the GDP. Okay. Then you can look at how the income has been distributed. Who and who got the money in the country. You can use this for international comparisons. We can compare and see, okay, our one is this much, okay, how much did India do? How did Pakistan do? How did Maldives do? We can compare and see. And we can also look at the relationships between different economic actors. How is the household sector performing? How is the business sector performing? How is the government performing? We can look at all of that. So those are the reasons why we calculate national income accounting, or the users of national. They can ask the same question in two ways. They can ask you, why do we calculate? Or they can ask you, what are the uses? What are the benefits of calculating national income? You give the same answer both ways. That is why we do it. Then what are the limitations, Naman? Now, again, we have not gone through this in our theory part. We have learned those. But you all know this from the theory class. What are the limitations? Now, if you take national income account, GDP has to include all the productive goods and services. But there are so many services, productive services, not included in GDP. Now, just think, Laman, if you all buy food from outside, you go to a, let's say, a Petti Kade, or let's say a Cyber Kade, and you buy a, let's say, fried rice, including GDP. But same fried rice, if your mother cooks and gives it to you, not included in GDP. Unfair, no? Same productive activity. Either the fried rice kade fellow or your mother produces, it's the same fried rice. Fried rice kade fellow included in GDP, your mother producing not included in GDP. Remember, we learned services provided by households for themselves is not included in GDP. So that is one of the biggest limitations. So how many things does your Sri Lankan parents do, Namai? Even just think, looking after you. If you go and put the baby in a daycare, and a daycare service, right? Monthly, you have to pay some money, including GDP. If the mother stays at home and looks after the baby, provides the same thing, but not in GDP. See, that's unfair there, right? That's why we call it one limitation. It's a limitation. See, although production activities taken place within households are included, services rendered by households for their consumption is not included in GDP. That's also a productive service. Ideally, it has to be there, no? You can't just the same kottu, whether you buy it from kottu kade or you buy eat the kottu at home when your mother makes, you can't treat it different. That's a problem. Then the second one is Lamai, illegal and hidden economic activities. Now just think, okay, let's say some of you all, I'm not really hidden. Let's say some of you all say, sir, can you do a individual class for me? I don't do individual classes, don't ask. let's say one of you all ask, will you all say, sir, can you do a individual class for me? Now, I got so much of messages from the 2023 batch who just did A levels. There was a fellow who dropped me a text one day before the paper. Paper is on the 4th of Jan. He dropped me a text on the 3rd of Jan. I don't know why he did it. On the 3rd of Jan, he calls me and says, sir, can you do a class for me, sir? I asked which batch. So I'm doing the exam tomorrow. And what does he want to cover? He wants to cover the entire Unit 7. Now, first thing I said, I can't cover Unit 7 in one day. Then he's like, oh, no, no, sir, only the important parts that will come to the exam. So if I know exactly what will come to the exam, then I can be the examiner. No. So I told, even important parts, there are a lot, there is no way that I can come. And in addition to that, and after, so then I told, okay, right, I don't do individual classes. I have a friend who does. If you want, I will introduce you to him. You speak to him and see. But I said, then individual class, he will at least charge 2,000 per hour. So maybe if you want like a 2 or 3 hour class, it will cost 4,000 or 6,000. That also he can't pay. So he comes from, I don't know what he did for the last 2.5 years, comes in the very last day. I said, I can't, definitely I don't have the time. I said, I'll introduce to a friend also. That also is not willing to pay. There are people like that, Lamai. So now just think now for that fellow, I did the class. Let's say that fellow says, sir, can you do, sir? I also feel bad for him. And I did the class. He paid me 2,000 rupees. Let's say he paid me 2,000 rupees. We did that informally. Let's say he came to my house. He sat on our dining table along with me. And I taught him unit number 7. He gave me cash 2,000 and no bank transfer, nothing. He gave it and went. Now, it's not an illegal activity or a thing, but those are informal activities. Now, how does the government know to include that in GDP? Now, I gave him a productive service. I did some teaching. For 2 hours, I sat with the fellow and I taught him unit number 7. Productive economic service. But where is it in the GDP? At least if it came from a bank transfer, then government can track it some way. At least through the bank records, government can track. Maybe he said class fees and he transferred. But let's say he just comes and he gives me the 2,000 cash. How is the bank going to this thing? Can't do that, right? Manufacturing, that is my Edexcel class. That I anyway do. Those are my Edexcel fellows. O-level Edexcel I teach. I just have like a few students. Because I started classes teaching Edexcel back in 2017. So I just have like a few students who I taught a batch. Now they are done. Now it's their brothers and them. I feel bad to reject those people. So for them, I still do a small group, like a small group individual class. I teach accounting for them. I teach business studies for them. I teach econ for them. I teach everything. I started teaching just after A-levels, 2017 towards the end. Right? So then, no, not just that. Even hidden economic, illegal economic activities, let's say producing ganja, those are also productive activities. Has to be there in the GDP. But do we have information? No information. So can't include, no? So all of that goes there. Then housewise work we spoke about. Then here, informal one, that is what I just said. If I do the class, he comes to my house and he pays me the 2,000 and go, not there in the GDP. Then also, GDP doesn't take into consideration the environmental impact. Now, sometimes, let's say Sri Lanka this year, to increase our GDP, we have cut down all our forests and we have built factories there and we have built hotels and we are developing. But the GDP has gone up. So people are like, wow, Sri Lanka is performing good, GDP has gone up. But will that GDP number ever show the impact to the environment? No. Now, that is what happens in China. Now, China's GDP is very high, but China is one of the biggest polluter in the world. Now, even India, same story. So much of pollution. Problem. GDP never shows that. And then sometimes, certain government productive activities also are not taken into GDP. Then even this happiness and leisure. Now, will the GDP ever show how happy you are? Will the GDP ever show how much of free time you have? No. Now, think of a country like Japan. In Japan, people work for like 15, 16 hours a day. Our fellows are working 8 or 9 hours a day and still complain. Japanese people, they work 15, 16 hours a day. One of my lecturer was once telling, they are so work committed. Now, let's say even a funeral happens. Even if a funeral happens, they won't take a leave. No leave. Even the funeral, the final rituals will be done on a weekend. Let's say something happens. Let's say someone passed away on Wednesday. We won't do anything on Thursday, right? We'll, let's say, keep the the corpse in the hospital or somewhere, and only in the weekend we will do the final rituals. So it doesn't disturb the working process. Even now, see, in Sri Lanka, what happens in Sri Lanka, if some fellow dies and the whole office is going on a trip. And what happens? Everyone is going on a book a bus and office that day is closed. Everyone is, in a bus, they are going on a trip there. Disrupts the work. Now that doesn't happen in Japan. And even let's say weddings and stuff. No wedding, no weekday weddings. No nonsense like that. Weddings, or if you're getting married also, weekends. So it doesn't disrupt the work plan. So Japan's GDP is high. But I don't think any of us can go to Japan and work like that. If you see the way they work, if you look at 15, 16 hour work hour a day, we will go crazy. But does the GDP ever show that? No. Japanese people, and Japan is a country with very high suicide rates. So obviously you work 15, 16 hours a day, when you can't. How do you do that? But does the GDP ever show that? No. GDP never shows how. Now, even in Japan, even the child growth, birth rate is very low because they don't have time to make children also. Sad, no? So they are so much committed to their work and all, right? Japanese government is paying money for people to have children. They are saying, okay, if you have children, we will give you this subsidy to send school also. We will give it for free. We will do this. We will do that for the children. For until first 2 years, we will give free milk powder. They're bringing so much of things. Fellows are not even having children also. That's right. But will the GDP ever show that? No. So happiness, leisure and all, you can't just look at the GDP. Just because GDP is increased, you can't say, oh, people are happy in that country. No. About when painted. Probably. Okay. Then guys, government interest payment is not included. And finally, there could be certain durable consumer goods which also might not be included in national income account. You don't have to remember everything. Just have a basic idea. So even this national income accounting is not perfect. Even this has certain flaws, certain shortcomings. Right. So with that, the theory area for our revision paper 16 is done. So revision paper 16, that is page number 25 plus page number 1 to 7 in your tute, page number 1 to 7. So with this, what we learned today, you all can do revision paper 16. We did double counting error. We did users and limitations of national income accounting. So all these parts are done. So what I want you to do now is make a short note. This page is there of all these topics, focus areas, spend around 1 hour, go through the part again, make a nice short note, use colored pens, sticky notes if you have to, right? Make a nice short note on that page, study it and finish it. And after that, do the paper. So we will do this paper tomorrow. So tomorrow from 8 to 10, we will discuss the answers of this paper. The answers of this, I will upload on the website as well. Then you can compare and see. Previous students know, guys, you can purchase if you want. We don't give it for free because it's unfair for those who then paid and came. So do this paper and come. Tomorrow we will discuss revision paper 16. From this list, if we have some time, we will go to the next part as well. Right, done. So with that, we'll call it a day. Exactly done by 6:30. I'll see you all tomorrow for the next part. That's the paper. See you. Have a nice